Robert Kiyosaki in his books talk a lot about the middle class as being squeezed, and a lot of what he said back in 1997, and in every book, which basically repeats the same thing since, um, is kind of what he kind of is playing out. You know,
Yeah, he's kind of predicted the future and he's been right every step of the way. Um, having worked closely with the Rich Dad, the organization,
we
and
actually
Robert
ended up
Kiyosaki.
teaching Robert Kiyosaki's courses and stuff out all over the world, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was invited to train a Rich Dad workshop, and it was really there that my instinct initially was, I can't do that. I don't know if I want to do that, and I lost a lot of weight through nerves, that's for sure. But then when I got into it, I really loved it because I realized that actually public speaking, the fear of public speaking, is the fear of making a fool of yourself or the fear of someone trying to catch you out. And I was like, well, I know this information inside out and backwards and upside down. And so, but I became his like number one global trainer, traveling everywhere for well over a decade. Um, I love the material. As a person, like there's some things he's got going on that I don't agree with. That's another story. But his guns and his big game hunting and stuff like that, I don't like.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you don't have to agree with him as a person to
yeah, and
accept that some of his teachings are really relevant and
this is
really
it.
work.
I think that we're far too quick to judge. And with social media now, you're like, if you take an instant dislike to someone, you just stop listening to the words that they're saying or the message that they have. I value and I'm super grateful to the books that he published because it wouldn't have changed our paths the way that it did. And I think what's fundamental behind all of his teaching is, I'm going to come back to again, that abundance, that he could write this global phenomenon book and it's been translated into countless languages around the world. You say Robert Kiyosaki in any country, people get it. And then the whole point of that Rich Dad Poor Dad book was actually not about the book. It was about him promoting a game that he was super passionate about. The game was the educational tool, the game's cash flow 101. And the book was so successful, everyone just ignored the game and were like, whatever, not interested in the game. I love the book. So he kind of, what he set out to achieve kind of took a bit of a different path, which I like because that's real life. That happens with everyone. But we did play the game. And I know that you can play it digitally, but I'm still a bit old fashioned where the board game has so many lessons in it.
I
Um,
yeah, I mean, we talked about this as well. You know, the difference between Monopoly and there's two basically, well-known games around real estate.
yeah.
Monopoly by far, obviously the most well-known, but cash flow is there as well. And the thing about Monopoly is it is a zero-sum game. You have to you win by everyone else losing, right? You have to beat everyone else into bankruptcy.
Yeah,
It's
you
kind of
have to
gives,
literally destroy your
yeah.
opposition to
And this,
win.
and I think this is what definitely contributed to this perception of landlords as being kind of evil, right? The top hatted cane wielding landlords strolling around, the dirty streets, evicting people out of their slum tenements. That's kind of, I think, a lot what really contributed to that. Um, and what we love about the cash flow 101 game is everyone can win.
Yeah. Like you can all get out the rat race. You're against yourself. And in life, that is exactly the same, right? I know as human beings, we love to compare ourselves, and social media has amplified that by a million percent. But um, it's whatever your occupation is, the card that you're dealt, you then have to get out of the rat race by being in the rat race and then making investment decisions. And I think every decision you make either puts you closer to your goal or takes you further away from your goal. And as human beings living their lives, and our listeners here today or watching us on YouTube, um, every decision you make on a daily basis takes you closer or further away from any goal you set yourself. And actually, that leads me on to my second favorite book, which we can maybe cover next time, which is The Slight Edge. But
Yeah,
anyway,
no, that's a
sorry.
whole book in itself, Slight Edge, I think. We'll
Oh, yes,
definitely
it is. It's
come
another
on to
book in
that.
itself.
As in,
Episode.
sorry, an episode. That's a whole episode in itself for that book. Um, but yeah, what I like about the cash flow game is that it's interesting when you play it. Initially when you get dealt the card, you get dealt out. For those who don't know, you get dealt out cards which tell you what your profession is,
Yeah.
right? And you could be a doctor, or you could be like a street sweeper or something, right? And you see people, when they get the doctor card, they're like, "Yeah, I'm a doctor," and you go, "Ah, no, that,
Nah, that's
that's that's
bad, man.
that's the hardest card to get dealt."
No, it's airline pilot. Airline pilot is the worst, right? But when you get it, you're like, "Look how much money I get every month." Yes. Actually, you wanna be the janitor.
Yeah, because
Heads
then
up.
it's easier to escape the rat race on a lower salary, and this is, I think, one of those kind of mindset shifts that students have undergone when they see that, and they're like, "Well, hang on, it goes against everything you ever taught,"
Yeah.
right? And when I get people that I coach and mentor, is some of the excuse, "Oh, well, I'm on a low income, so I know this is going to be really difficult." And I'm, no, you're actually that's a completely wrong way of thinking about it. It's going to be easier for you. I
Yeah.
mean, easier in one sense, not in another sense, but look, it is actually easier to create an asset base that covers your outgoings if you're on a lower income than if you're on a higher income,
Yeah.
right? Um,
The
and
the
that is a
guys on the
mega
big
mindset shift for people.
the guys on the big salaries that we've worked with over the years, um, they're time poor, right? And time's one of your most valuable commodities. You need to, in fact, I was just putting together an Instagram post on this about your three most valuable commodities: time, education, and money. And in order to get more of one, you have to invest the other two. So i- i- there's got to be a bit of a balance in what resources you have for you to then hustle and get improvements on what you need more of: time, money, education.